materials and inputs, and out came finished goods. And so it was manufacturing at its core. And that's what many of you guys watching this and what James and I are doing every day. We're actually running these little factories. And that was so cool to me because there was something that you could hold, something in your hands. And so that really inspired me. It was the Signs Now actually right next door. It really inspired me to get into the sign business. And so after I totally failed at the eBay store and wasted a bunch of my parents' money, and they didn't have a lot of money to waste, so it was fairly detrimental to me. But after I went through that, I got on eBay, of course, and I bought a Vinyl Master plotter. And this is it was a 34-inch plotter, I think, and it could cut vinyl out, vinyl decals. Most of you guys know what that is. And I started making signs for local businesses. And I was out there and I was hustling. This was like 2007, late 2007. And I started hustling. I went to a strip mall, and the strip mall would have like, 20 businesses in it. And I'd go in and out each door asking each business, do you need signs? Do you need business cards? Do you need anything like that? And slowly but surely, I built this client base. Well, then in 2008, my brother James here was kind of coming off of off season in the concession stands that he was working in, and then Mark, our business partner, actually he came back. He's a Marine, and he came back from a second tour in Iraq. And so the three of us didn't have that much to do, and so we joined forces. And that was Target Omaha Marketing. We incorporated in October of 2008, and we were a retail sign shop. So we kind of started in a 100 square foot office that we had kind of in West Omaha, and then almost immediately after Mark and James joined, we jumped up to a 900 square foot office. And again, we were still doing retail. We were doing yard signs. We were doing all kinds of stuff that, you remember that? Mm-hmm. We were doing all kinds of stuff that, anybody would put their logo on. We got into apparel, but we did very little in-house. We were subbing most of this work out. And we found that yard signs were incredibly effective marketing for our customers. And so we sold more and more yard signs as we were operating. And we had trouble. We had a lot of trouble finding a really good outsourced vendor to print these yard signs, to screen print these yard signs for us. And so we kind of decided that we had to become who we needed for support in our business. And so we really didn't particularly love the consulting and the installation and the design work. We really liked, again, back to the manufacturing, the making side of this thing where we'd produce a good. And so in 2010, we switched entirely to wholesale. We referred away like 700 retail customers, and we bought our first screen printing line from a company in New York. And so that was a big move. That brings us to about 2011, which, do you have a picture of us from 2011? This was our first crew. So 2011, we hired these guys, and that's Mark right in the middle there next to me, and James. And James wasn't even 20, I don't think, in this picture. No, you were.
21.
21, okay. And so we were pretty young, kind of figuring it out. But that was our first crew, and that shop actually was that was about a 3,000 square foot shop. And we have kind of been able to grow ever since that point. We moved in about 2011, we moved to a 6,000 square foot shop. We took over another 7,500 square feet in 2015. In 2018, we grew to 16,500 square feet, and that's actually where we're sitting right now, is in 16,500 square feet. The bays next to us were continuously opening, so we were able to grow. And through that whole period, we've added people. We're up to about 30 employees now. I think we did about $100,000 in our first year. And last year we did almost 5.2 million in sales. Again, with 30 employees. So we've been able to grow every single year. It's been pretty incredible. And our next big transition now is, I think we have a video that we'd like to show you.
Hey guys, we got something really exciting to show you. That's why we're standing out here in the rain. Let me turn around here and show you real quick. This is the new home of FireSprint Printing. I got Gene and Mark right behind me. We're gonna walk in and show you guys around. Stick with us.
So this is our front office area. We're going to have customer support, marketing will be out here. It's really great to have so much office space here. This building is about a little over 21,000 square foot building. It used to be an old medical lab, and we're going to convert it to FireSprint Printing. And we're going to take you along for that journey. One of my favorite things, I know it's kind of funny, but one of my favorite things about this space is we have a proper conference room. We have all these shared spaces in our current building right now, and to have an actual conference room where we can close the door and hash things out and figure things out, I think is going to help us on our journey.
We'll check out the production floor.
So this is it. This is where it happens here at FireSprint. Our production floor here, we have a ton of work to do. You can see there's drains that need to be capped. There's all kinds of stuff because it was a medical lab. But we're going to tear out just about every wall that you can see and open this up to a beautiful 13,500 square foot production floor. It's one big open room. Right now we're all segregated all over the place, which is going to really help with our flow. We're going to raise the ceilings in here. We're going to improve the lighting. We have tons of power coming into the building, so we can add all kinds of awesome equipment. And we're just going to make it beautiful in here. I think you're going to love it. We're going to take you along for that journey step by step as we're going through it. Right now we're at the very tail end of our due diligence process. We're going to close in just measured in weeks, and we'll start moving in a few months, and that whole time we're going to take you with us. So we're like so crazy excited right now to move into this space. I think it's going to improve a lot of things that we're doing. And so we are definitely, as we said in the video, we're going to take you along for that journey. I think that's probably part of the timing of doing this live right now, is to really be talking about that. And if you guys are looking at buying a building, kind of part of that process, or we can talk about our processes with leasing and everything else. But I do want to show you a picture of our team here. This is our current team. And so that is, I'm pretty sure we got everybody between the two. The little picture is actually the night shift. And we just have the most incredible team. They've helped us grow so very much. I'm so grateful for everybody that comes into FireSprint every day and makes it happen, because we have really great people. And that's about all I have to say about that. Unless you guys have more specific questions, we can get into the details. And again, don't feel bad about asking anything. James, do we have questions that we want to?
Yeah. So looks like we got a question. What was your basic startup costs for equipment for screen printing, I guess?
Yeah, so I guess if we're talking about the screen printing equipment, we bought our first screen printing line, which was a Saturn 3040 and a Vitran dryer. They're M&R printers, which are made in Chicago, by the way, American made. They're awesome. We still have them. We're still running that equipment today. I want to say we spent $17,000 for the two combined, and that included some amount of freight. Our parents had to sell their car to loan us the money to buy that initial piece of equipment, and then our operating costs were floated on Mark's credit cards. He had really good credit coming out of the Marines, so that helped us incredibly. So I hope that answers your question. If it does, let us know. But that VinylMaster vinyl plotter that I started with was like $300 on eBay. And so I think one of the keys, and if I plug FireSprint just a minute, is this industry is so entrepreneurial, right? I mean, what do you have to start? You got to get, you barely have to get an Adobe Illustrator license anymore. I mean, there's all kinds of free stuff that you can use, but then you start subbing out work, and you just get out there and you design and you hustle, and when you start selling something that's really taking off and moving, you buy a piece of equipment to kind of bring that in-house so that you can offer the next level of service for your customers. So, we did get a loan from our parents to start, and back in 2010, 11, even today, $17,000 is a lot of money, but you don't need that to start. And we didn't buy that equipment until we had sales generating. By 2011, 10, when we bought that equipment, I think we had $350,000 in sales that year without any equipment hardly. So, I hope that kind of answers that question, does it?
I think you should go into a little bit detail too, because we've advanced our company as we did graphic screen printing at start, which is what Gene just kind of discussed the pricing for.
Yeah.
But then, getting into digital, what were some of the costs that we incurred because of that? That might be a good.
Yeah, so we actually didn't get into digital in-house. We subbed out digital work up to 2014, and then in 2014 we bought our first flatbed printer. That was, I don't know, $210,000. They're still anywhere from 75 to 200 some thousand today to get kind of that commercial grade, a little better than something you put in a small office, but something a nice size sign shop would be running. But that, again, the cost of that equipment, and I hope I'm answering this question, but the cost of that equipment, it doesn't really come down to how much that equipment is. I know a lot of people would argue with me, but it comes down to how much volume you can run through it in a month, right? Because you take a $200,000 piece of equipment, well, that comes down, especially with great interest rates right now, that comes down to $2,500 a month or something like that. Well, then you start looking, $2,500 a month. If I run that thing for, let's just pretend there's 25 working days in a month, that's $100 a day. Well, I got to run a 4x8 sheet with a $100 margin. So I buy a $50 sheet of ACM and I sell it for $300, and then I go and install it. Well, you do that once per day, and you've paid for the printer, and that sheet's going to print in 10 minutes, right? So, I hope that's where we're going. But you think I'm answering the question?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Please comment if you think that.
Yeah.
If you'd like us to go into more detail on anything.
Keep asking the same question if I'm not answering it. I really don't mind, and feel free to email us too.
So we have
later.
Both on Facebook and YouTube. We have questions about who did our design and art layouts back when we first started, when we were retail.
Who does? We all did, actually. So I did a little bit. I know Mark did a ton of it. If you're talking about the layout that we were selling to customers, so when a customer would walk in the door and they say we need a logo or something, that was something that we were self-taught on how to use. We were using a pirated copy of Adobe Illustrator that my cousin got for me. So we didn't even pay for it. Like when we first started, like when I was in my parents' basement. And so we don't do that anymore. We pay for all of our software today. But when we first started, I do think that if you are getting into this industry, again, this is my opinion, and people prove me wrong on this all the time, but you need to have a basic understanding of design. And I would start with something like Illustrator or Corel Draw, but there's all kinds of free stuff out. Isn't Canva free? And all kinds of stuff like that. But you have to have kind of a basic understanding. I mean, I like to think we're in the manufacturing business, but I think externally, people think of us as being in the communications business. And so being able to handle graphics communication is kind of a baseline for what you need.
So next question, I'm interested to hear how your income has grown as your business sales have increased. Is it proportional or diminishing return as sales increase?
So it did like this, and then comes back down, and then it slowly started to come back up for us. And so I'll explain that. When I was a one-man shop and I sold, like my very first year kind of on my own, I sold about $100,000 in sales, and most of that was subbed out. I had $200 a month in an office space, and that was about it. I didn't have any loans from the bank or anything like that. And so I kept half of that. I kept all the margin. It was there for us, and it stayed there. And then you start hiring employees. And I would say for the first 6 or 7 years, I mean, it was just take just the bare minimum out of the business that the business could afford to pay us. Some months that was nothing. Other months it was more lucrative. But and then we kind of hit a point, I would say, as late as like 2019, where there was actually, and into 2020, we had a great year in 2020 where there would start to be stuff left over. We make more money today than I did when I was working by myself, but there is kind of a curve that you have to get through when you start hiring employees. It is crazy critical that like their paychecks don't bounce. So that becomes your first and foremost priority, and you have to pay them fair. They're not owners. It doesn't matter. You can't say, hey, I'll pay you next month when business is good, and so that does initially affect that ability to pay yourself.
Looks like we got a question on YouTube. What's coming in the future from you? What's our plan? More of everything. So we don't really have any major plans to actually add any new products or anything like that when we move into the new building. I guess our main goal here is probably just to get more efficient, get faster, figure out how to stay competitive in the marketplace with everything kind of the way it is right now. It's very challenging to stay as competitive as we have been before, and it's this is definitely, just everything's changing. Nothing's the same price as what it was a year ago. Everything is a challenge to get. We hold 3 times the amount of inventory, 3 or 4 times the amount of inventory than we used to. So we can go into that pretty deep, but I guess the main thing to change in the future is just for us to get faster and better and kind of keep growing on the products that we have. We do have hopes to bring some products back in house that we've been outsourcing, but for the most part, we've got really good partners that we work with and stuff, and so. We don't outsource much, but
very little.
Yeah,
one product.
But it's just to kind of help us get that started and stuff, and yeah. I hope I answered that.
I think I do think you're missing that. Our goal is so we're at 5.2. We expect to do right about 5.2 million this year. Our goal is to hit 10 million in the next 3 years, and there's a few things that we're doing to try and accomplish that. Number one, of course, we're going to move our space. And as we said, to move into like one big, rectangle production space, I think is going to make us quite a bit more efficient. It also brings us a lot of pride in our own building. We'll feel good about investing in it and things like that. The space we're in right now, there's a lot of spots that just aren't great, and it's because it's not our building. And then we've hired our first outside salesperson. He has a tremendous amount of experience. And he just hit the ground running, bringing new customers in and closing deals. And you guys will meet him. His name is Josh. He is incredible, very attentive, and knows just a ton about the industry. So I think he's going to help us tremendously with that. And then internally, we hired an operations manager. His name is Brian. And so he brings just a tremendous amount of experience. All kinds of great stuff. Again, he hit the ground running. Immediately he's got slideshows. And in fact, tomorrow, what are we doing tomorrow? Tomorrow we're doing our strategic planning session. We're going to start a strategic planning session to kind of calculate or maybe help point our trajectory of this growth a little bit better. And so, and he's heading that whole thing up. And so those are the big things that we are doing. But in all reality, it's just to try and grow bigger, to service more customers, or to service the customers that we have in greater areas.
What kind of printer are we running? So you can go ahead. Yeah, what brands of print equipment do we have?
Oh, well, okay. So I'm going to start first and foremost and say our flagship is our Durst P10250 HS Plus. So that's just a big beast of a Durst. We run most of our rigid substrates on it. Incredible printer. It's right about a little under the $500,000 mark probably. And we first installed that in 2018. We have a Canon Colorado, which we did have a little bit of a rough start with, and we can go into that in another video maybe if you guys want to know more about it. But it is running very smoothly now. We really like it. Really high quality for like our stickers and things like that. We've got a Vanguard VK300 DHS. I think I got the numbers right.
Right.
That is a really great machine, especially if you're like, you're operating. I always use like the fast signs model, but if you're operating like, kind of a sign shop with 5-7 employees, something like that, I really believe those Vanguard machines are a really great price point for what they are. And then, of course, we have our screen printing equipment. We have two 30 by 40 inch screen printing lines and a 48 by 36. It's actually bigger than that screen printing line that we run. And then, of course, all the little ancillary. Oh, and our Zunes. We have a pair of Zunes, a big one and a little one, and those things are incredible. So we'll definitely have some videos of that kind of stuff running in upcoming shows. So.
Mike, you had asked where do we start? We did kind of go over there right at the beginning of the video, but we did start in our parents' basement back in 2007 and then kind of moved up from there. But this will go on YouTube and Facebook to be able to be watched afterwards as well if you want to see the whole thing. But let's see here. What's the next question?
So I do see here, do you think Signs 101 is generating good leads? Absolutely. I hear people all the time saying that they found us on Signs 101. I do feel like a lot of the leads are deeper. A lot of them are more just connecting with people in the industry. I'm not sure how much like revenue we generate off of our Signs 101 stuff, but most of the Signs 101 answers, if they say Fire Sprint, they're from me. And I really enjoy getting on there and just helping people in our industry, which that leads me into something else. I think it's really cool to be a part of the trade. So if we go to like one of these shows like Printing United, it's just badass because all the vendors there want to sell to us and everybody walking around is a potential customer for us. And I don't think it's badass because like, oh, we can sell to all these customers. It's cool because we can interact with everybody there in a very positive way. There isn't hardly anybody there except for 365 that might be our competitor. Most everybody there is we can benefit each other in one way or another. And so it's just a ton of fun to be in this part of the industry. So I love it.
So TJ on Facebook asked, what are your hobbies and how do you keep your work-life balance?
Okay.
So, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
So that's always a challenge, figuring out, how much time to spend. I mean, I always feel like there's a million projects that we should be working on at any point in time, and that list is never ending. But obviously, we both have 3 kids. We're both married, and so that does keep us. We have to, obviously make sure that we're good parents and stuff. And I mean, I think one of the big things, the end game goals here is to try to build something that we can bring our kids into and stuff at some point. And and then it helps that both of our families are pretty close with each other too. And Mark's real close with us as well. Mark's not in the video obviously, but I try to get home in time for dinner and put the kids to bed and spend as much time as we can with them. And then obviously, being the owner of the company, it's important to, take some time and take, go on trips and stuff like that. And,
gotta get away.
Yeah. If you're going to go, take the kids to the pumpkin patch or something, leave a little early or, go in the morning or something. But it's a challenge. I think that's something that is going to be hard for any business owner to work through, quite frankly, anybody. I mean, you got to figure out, what works for you and stuff and what keeps everybody happy. So
Texas Sign Maker is probably the best participant on Signs 101. I see that comment there. I would have to agree. We're a real close second. We're working on that. I want to say something a little bit controversial. I think especially as an entrepreneur, I mean, it's one thing to be able to kind of clock in and clock out at the end of the day, but as an entrepreneur, I think work-life balance is a little bit bullshit. I think it's really important that you find an avenue, a career, what you're doing, something that recharges you in a way. So then when it becomes, and I'm borrowing this, I can't remember where I heard it. Maybe you remember, James, but it should be, I really think it should be more, the goal should be to find a flywheel, right? To find work that fulfills you. And then home life that fulfills you, and you build on that over and over again. I did make the commitment about 3 or 4 years ago. I stopped gardening, and I had chickens. I had backyard chickens and crap like that, and I really enjoyed that stuff. But I said, you know what? I've got my work family, and I have my kids and my home family and my wife, and then of course my brother and his kids, and like I tried to move everything away. And we go on vacation and we enjoy ourselves, but my hobby is fire sprint. I think, and it might seem kind of lame, but I mean, I love to be here, and it's recharging for me to be here. And so I think you need to find an industry, find a group of people, find great employees, or a great boss or a great manager, whatever, so that when you leave work, you're not like, oh, thank God I'm leaving, right? That should be the ultimate goal, not balance between the two, but fulfillment within both of them together. I don't know, that's my podium, but that's what I search for, and you know what? I'm freaking crazy, so who knows?
I wasn't going to say it. What was the most efficient method for you guys to gain new leads and work more, or new leads and more work when you were a smaller shop?
Referrals? I mean...
Oh, did we lose it?
Okay, sorry.
Okay. Sorry.
I think referrals were crazy important. So one of the things, and we are right at 30 minutes, so we'll wrap this up here in a second. We'll be here next week again, but you get referrals by really taking care of your customers. I mean, you got to look at each customer as an opportunity. You got to look at a mistake as an opportunity. If you make a mistake with the customer and you fix that mistake, that could very easily become a customer for life. Or you could blame the customer and you could have them out there not doing anything to help your business. And so I would say when you're a small shop, the most important thing to do is to really focus on the few customers you have and make them raving fans of your business. Beyond that, I mean, there's just all kinds of stuff that you can do. You're up, I have you. Don Long. Hi, Don Long. And so, do that. Focus on the customers you have already. And I know that's not really the answer you're looking for, but there's no golden ticket. It's hard work and taking care of people. When you're a one-man shop, you're taking care of your customers, and when you start to have employees, you're taking care of your employees who will take care of your customers. There's I don't know any other way to do it. That's the way it has to be done, I think.
I think we got a couple questions. Looks like that one was answered. We are trade only. We're not retail.
Absolutely.
Yep.
It is. It's tiring to think about going into the retail space and doing design. We don't have designers on staff. I mean, Bridget is sitting here helping us out, and she helps with marketing materials and things like that, but she does not interact directly with customers. We have no designers. We expect you guys to provide your own artwork. We don't do any installation. We don't promote or advertise in retail spaces or anything like that. We want to be trade only. We want to work within the industry. It's where my heart and passion are. We want to make stuff, and we want you guys out there, being able to build off of that.
Have we ever thought about adding t-shirt printing?
Yes, it crosses our mind all the time. I don't think we'll move in that direction, though. I think we'll stick more with the graphic side of things, like labels. Maybe we'll get into dye sub someday, but all that stuff is very speculative. We like selling yard signs.
How are our vendor relations?
Our vendor relations are freaking awesome. We have amazing vendors. We really do. I'll tell you that story next time because we're out of time, but I've got a couple more stories of just how really hitching your wagon to a good vendor made all the difference. There are some guys that I don't think we would have survived without their help, and just amazing vendors. I know we wouldn't have. And there are incredible vendors in this industry that people can use. So yeah. I think, wow, that went so fast. I was so worried. Did I talk too much?
We'll never tell, Matt.
Did I answer your guys' questions? James, how are we doing?
Matt Rorty asked if we're drinking bourbon or beer in the mugs.
We ran out of bourbon. Cheers. Yeah. So,
I think we've got everything answered.
yep. Okay. We plan on doing this again next week. We will go more into detail. I know I've had a lot of people ask us about our website. We've had a lot of people ask about how do you grow your small business? How do you find customers? Things like that. We'll get into more of that, other than just taking care of your customers. Again, there's nothing more important than that, but we'll get into that more. And then we'll keep answering your questions. And I really hope that by the end of this, you guys can take something away. You're not just thinking, man, those guys at FireSprint were just lucky, because we were. We've been really lucky, but we've learned a lot along the way, and we want to share that with you. And we're going to have some trials and tribulations on getting to 10 million, and we kind of want to share that with you as well in that process. And hopefully it'll help you along the way in your journeys. So,
How many yard signs per day can we do?
how many yard signs per day can we do? This will be the last question. That's a good question. How many can we do, Michael, in a day? So we run 2.5 shifts, so we can do a lot. It's, I don't know, 5 or 10,000? 10,000? Michael thinks 10,000. Yeah, one color screen printed, we can do a shitload. So that helps a lot if we can do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Depends on.
Cool.
Cool. Thank you guys for all coming. Looks like we had about 28, 29 people come in. So
That's
awesome.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, thanks, guys.
See you next week.
See ya.